Civilization number 1. Sumer. Before history had a name, before kings wore crowns, before the world learned how to remember itself, there was Sumer. In the land between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, something extraordinary happened. Not gradually, not accidentally, but suddenly, decisively, and with consequences that still shape your life today. Writing appeared. Cities rose from mud and reed. Law, mathematics, timekeeping, astronomy, organized religion, all emerged almost at once. And the question that has never gone away is simple, unsettling, and unavoidable. How did the Sumerians know so much, so early? When archaeologists began uncovering the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia in the 19th century, they expected primitive villages. What they found instead were complex cities older than Egypt's pyramids, older than Stonehenge, older than almost everything humanity remembers. Cities with paved streets, cities with courts, schools, temples, and bureaucracies. Cities that recorded business contracts, prayers, myths, and scientific observations in a written language that seemed to appear fully formed. This was not the slow dawn of civilization. This was a leap. They called it Kengir, meaning the land of the civilized lords, and they believed, without hesitation, that civilization itself had been given to them. According to their own records, kingship did not evolve. It descended from the heavens. Not invented, not discovered, descended. Modern scholars often dismiss this as myth, but myths are not lies. They are memories encoded in story. And the Sumerian memory insists on one thing above all else. They were not alone at the beginning. The Sumerians believed powerful beings called the Anunnaki shaped their world. These beings were not abstract gods floating in the clouds. They were described as decision-makers, engineers of fate, judges, teachers, and rulers. They measured the land. They established laws. They taught humans how to build cities and honor the cosmos. Whether symbolic or literal, the Anunnaki narrative raises a deeper issue. Why does the first civilization on Earth already speak in the language of advanced order? Sumerian cities like Uruk, Ur, Lagash, and Nippur were not random settlements. They were planned. Each centered around massive temple complexes called ziggurats, rising in stepped layers toward the sky. These were not tombs. They were not palaces. They were interfaces, symbolic mountains connecting earth and heaven. The ziggurat was the axis of the city and, symbolically, the axis of the universe. And here is where the mystery deepens. The Sumerians organized their world using a base 60 numerical system. From it, we inherited 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle. This system is mathematically sophisticated, efficient for fractions, and astonishingly precise. Why base 60? No one knows for certain. But this same numerical logic appears later in Babylon, in astronomy, in geometry, and in timekeeping systems that would spread across civilizations separated by oceans and millennia. Coincidence or inheritance? Sumerian astronomy was not casual stargazing. It was systematic, recorded, predictive. They tracked planetary movements, eclipses, solstices, and equinoxes. They mapped the heavens with religious and mathematical rigor. They believed the sky was a code, a message written by higher powers. And their myths reinforce this obsession with cosmic order. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving literary works on Earth, we encounter themes that will echo across civilizations yet to come. A great flood, a chosen survivor, divine judgment, the search for immortality. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, is described as 2/3 divine, 1/3 human. He seeks eternal life after witnessing death, a story that predates the Bible by thousands of years, yet mirrors it uncannily. The flood hero Utnapishtim survives a world-destroying deluge by building a massive boat, sealing animals inside, and releasing birds to find dry land. This story will later appear in Akkadian, Babylonian, Hebrew, and even Hindu traditions. Did these cultures copy Sumer? Or are they all remembering the same ancient catastrophe? Sumerian law also appears abruptly advanced. Long before Hammurabi, Sumerian legal codes established rules for marriage, trade, punishment, and social responsibility. Justice was not arbitrary. It was written, recorded, and enforced. Writing itself, kishanade, cuneiform, began as accounting marks and evolved rapidly into a full system capable of expressing abstract thought, poetry, science, and theology. There is no long experimental phase, no half-formed alphabets. It arrives ready. And then, just as strangely as Sumer rose, it began to fade. The Sumerian language died out, replaced by Akkadian, yet it continued to be used as a sacred and scholarly language. Much like Latin thousands of years later, their cities were abandoned. Their ziggurats crumbled, their people were absorbed. But their ideas survived, quietly migrating through Babylon, through Assyria, through Persia, into Greece, into Rome, into us. Modern civilization rests on Sumerian foundations, yet most people have never heard their name. And here is the most unsettling part of all. Sumer does not feel like the beginning of a story. It feels like the middle, as if something came before it, something we no longer remember. In the parts that follow, we will encounter other ancient civilizations separated by oceans and centuries, yet bound by the same strange patterns, sacred geometry, heaven-focused architecture, advanced calendars, flood myths, divine teachers, and knowledge that appears too early, too complete, too connected. Sumer was not an isolated miracle. It may have been the first surviving echo of something far older, a shared human inheritance whose origin we still cannot explain. And as we move forward to the next civilization, one question will remain with us. If Sumer was taught, who was the teacher? Civilization number 2, Ancient Egypt. When Sumer began to fade, another civilization was already standing in stone. Along the banks of the Nile, in a land shaped by flood and desert, ancient Egypt emerged, not as a fragile experiment, but as a civilization that seemed to already know exactly who it was, how the universe worked, and how long it intended to last. For more than 3,000 years, Egypt remained fundamentally unchanged. Dynasties rose and fell, but the core ideas endured. Divine kingship, cosmic order, sacred architecture aligned with the heavens, and an obsession with eternity. This stability alone sets Egypt apart. Most civilizations evolve rapidly, fracture, and disappear. Egypt endured, as if following a blueprint established at the very beginning. The Egyptians believed their civilization was founded not merely by human ancestors, but by gods who once ruled on earth. In their earliest traditions, beings such as Osiris, Isis, Horus, and Thoth were not distant abstract deities. Zep-Tepi was not mythic chaos. It was an age of order, when divine beings established the foundations of civilization itself. This belief mirrors Sumer almost exactly. In Sumer, kingship descended from heaven. In Egypt, divine rulers reigned before human pharaohs. Different names, same structure. At the center of Egyptian civilization stood the pharaoh, not merely a king, but a living bridge between worlds. The pharaoh was responsible for maintaining Ma'at, the cosmic balance that kept the universe from collapsing into chaos. Ma'at governed everything: justice, astronomy, architecture, morality, time. To violate Ma'at was not just a crime, it was a threat to existence itself. This cosmic focus is written into Egypt's most famous creations, the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not just massive, it is mathematically precise, to a degree that still astonishes modern engineers. Its sides are aligned almost perfectly to the cardinal directions. Its proportions encode mathematical constants. Its location corresponds closely to Earth's landmass center. It is not merely a tomb, it is a statement. Unlike later pyramids, the Great Pyramid contains no inscriptions, no decorations, no clear funerary texts. Its internal passages are complex, deliberate, and unlike anything built before or since. The Egyptians never claimed they invented the pyramid design from nothing. Later texts suggest the knowledge was inherited from a much earlier time. Again, Egypt does not describe itself as a beginning, but as a continuation. Egyptian astronomy reinforces this idea. Temples across the Nile Valley are aligned to solstices, equinoxes, and specific stars. The rising of Sirius, for example, was linked to the annual Nile flood and marked the Egyptian New Year. This same star held sacred importance in other ancient cultures, including Sumer. The Egyptians believed the soul of the pharaoh ascended to the stars, joining the eternal cycle of the cosmos. The heavens were not distant, they were a destination. This belief shaped their view of death. To the Egyptians, death was not an ending, it was a transition. The soul passed through judgment, balance, and transformation before entering eternal life. This journey required knowledge, spells, maps, instructions. Thus emerged the pyramid texts, coffin texts, and later the Book of the Dead, guides for navigating the afterlife. Written knowledge, preserved knowledge, sacred knowledge, just as in Sumer. Egyptian writing, hieroglyphs, was considered a divine gift. According to tradition, it was given by Thoth, god of wisdom, measurement, writing, and time. Thoth was not merely a god of words. He was the architect of order, the one who understood numbers, cycles, and the mechanics of reality. His role closely resembles that of the Sumerian god Enki. Once again, different culture, same archetype. Egyptian medicine, engineering, and mathematics reveal a civilization operating far beyond subsistence. They performed surgeries, set fractures, calculated volumes, and planned massive construction projects with astonishing accuracy. And yet, they attributed this knowledge not to trial and error, but to tradition, to teachings passed down from a sacred past. Even Egypt's sense of time was unusual. While many cultures viewed time as linear, the Egyptians understood it as cyclical, repeating patterns governed by cosmic rhythms. This concept appears again and again across ancient civilizations separated by geography but united by worldview. And then there is the flood. While Egypt did not preserve a single dominant flood myth like Sumer, its cosmology speaks of primeval waters, Nun, from which creation emerged. Chaos existed first, order was imposed. This mirrors Mesopotamian creation stories with striking similarity. Two civilizations, one river-based world, one cosmic narrative. Trade and contact between Sumer and Egypt are debated, but cultural exchange is not required to explain deeper parallels. These are not surface-level similarities, they are structural. Both civilizations claimed divine origins, built heaven-oriented monuments, preserved advanced astronomical knowledge, viewed kingship as sacred, treated writing as holy, remembered a lost golden age. It is as if both inherited fragments of the same ancient memory. Egypt would eventually decline, foreign powers would rule, temples would close, hieroglyphs would fall silent. But the symbols endured. Through Greece, through Rome, through secret traditions, through modern fascination. Egypt remains a civilization that seems to speak across time, not as a primitive ancestor, but as a messenger from a forgotten age. And as we move forward to the next civilization, the pattern continues. Different land, different people, same questions. If Egypt inherited its knowledge, who taught Egypt? Civilization number 3. Indus Valley. While Egypt raised monuments of stone and Mesopotamia carved its memory into clay, another civilization was rising quietly, without pyramids, without royal tombs, and without boasting its achievements in stone inscriptions. Along the Indus River and its tributaries, Across what is now Pakistan and northwestern India, the Indus Valley civilization emerged, vast, organized, and profoundly enigmatic. At its height, it covered an area larger than both Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. And yet, for most of human history, it was completely forgotten. When its cities were rediscovered in the early 20th century, archaeologists were stunned. Not because the civilization was primitive, but because it was too advanced, too orderly, and too modern in its design to fit comfortably into existing historical narratives. Cities like Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and Dholavira were not chaotic growths. They were planned with precision. Streets followed grid patterns, homes were built with standardized bricks. Drainage systems ran beneath the city, carrying waste away efficiently. Almost every house had access to clean water and sanitation. This was urban planning at a level not seen again for thousands of years. And yet, there were no palaces, no massive temples dominating the skyline, no grand statues of kings or gods. Power, if it existed, was subtle. This absence is as important as what remains. The Indus people appear to have valued balance over dominance, order over spectacle. Their cities were designed for living, not for glorifying rulers. And still, the civilization shared striking similarities with Sumer and Egypt. The Indus people used standardized weights and measures across vast distances. Trade networks extended to Mesopotamia, where Indus seals have been found in Sumerian cities. Sumerian texts refer to a distant land called Meluha, widely believed to be the Indus region. Goods moved between them. Ideas may have moved as well. But here, the mystery deepens. Unlike Sumer and Egypt, the Indus Valley left behind no deciphered texts. Their writing system, short inscriptions on seals and tablets, remains undeciphered to this day. We do not know their names for themselves. We do not know their myths. We do not know their rulers. We only see the results of their thinking. And those results suggest a civilization guided by principles we still struggle to define. One of the most iconic structures at Mohenjo-Daro is the Great Bath, a large, carefully waterproofed pool at the center of the city. It was not a reservoir, it was not a public well, it appears to have been ritual. Water purification rituals will later become central to Hinduism, Buddhism, and other South Asian traditions. The Indus Valley may represent the deep, forgotten root of spiritual practices that survived long after the civilization itself vanished. Their seals depict animals, bulls, elephants, tigers, and mysterious figures seated in meditative postures. One seal shows a horned figure surrounded by animals, often interpreted as a proto-form of Shiva, the later Hindu god of destruction and regeneration. If this interpretation is correct, then the Indus civilization was not erased. It was absorbed. Its symbols lived on. Like Sumer and Egypt, the Indus people were deeply concerned with order, not imposed by kings, but embedded into daily life. Streets, bricks, weights, city layouts, all followed standardized ratios. This suggests a shared worldview, that harmony could be engineered, that chaos could be managed, that civilization was a system, not a throne. Their decline is as mysterious as their rise. Around 1900 BCE, the great cities were abandoned. There is little evidence of invasion or large-scale violence. Instead, environmental changes, shifting rivers, weakening monsoons, likely disrupted agriculture and trade. But what is striking is how calmly the civilization seems to fade. No desperate last monuments, no final inscriptions, no collapse into chaos. The people simply dispersed. And yet, their influence remained. Many cultural patterns of later South Asia, urban planning concepts, religious symbolism, ritual bathing, reverence for certain animals, echo Indus traditions. This mirrors a pattern we have already seen. Sumer faded, but its ideas survived through Babylon and beyond. Egypt declined, but its symbols endured across millennia. The Indus vanished, but its cultural DNA flowed into future civilizations. And beneath these patterns lies a deeper question. Why do civilizations separated by geography and culture share the same fundamental obsessions: order over chaos, sacred water, cosmic alignment, standardized measurement, inherited knowledge, a remembered golden age. None of these civilizations describe themselves as inventing civilization from nothing. Each looked backward to a time of origin, of instruction, of balance already established. It is as if humanity did not begin civilization once, but remembered it multiple times. As we leave the Indus Valley and move eastward and forward in time, we encounter another civilization shaped by the same invisible forces, but expressed through stone, sky, and blood sacrifice. A civilization that measured time with terrifying precision. A civilization that built cities aligned not just to stars, but to cycles of destruction and rebirth. Civilization number 4. Maya civilization. Deep within the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, far from the great river valleys of the Old World, a civilization arose that should not have known what it knew. The Maya had no draft animals, no metal tools, no wheels used for transport, and yet they mastered time itself. Across what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, Maya city-states flourished for centuries, constructing towering pyramids, charting the movements of planets, and developing one of the most sophisticated calendar systems ever created. Their world was governed not just by seasons but by cycles, cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal. To the Maya, time was alive. Maya cities such as Tikal, Palenque, Copan, and Chichen Itza were not placed randomly. They were aligned with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, and planetary movements. Temples rose as stone calendars. Stairways marked solar shadows. Architecture became astronomy made permanent. This mirrors patterns we have already seen. Sumer read meaning in the stars. Egypt aligned monuments to the heavens. The Indus engineered order into daily life. The Maya encoded cosmic order into time itself. Their mathematical system included the concept of zero, independently developed long before it appeared in Europe. This allowed them to calculate enormous spans of time with extraordinary precision. Their long count calendar tracked cycles spanning thousands of years, far beyond the lifespan of any kingdom. Why would a civilization invest such effort into measuring time beyond its own existence? Because the Maya did not see themselves as owners of time, only as its caretakers. Their myths describe previous worlds that were created and destroyed before the current age. Humanity had failed before. The gods had reset creation. This idea of repeated ages appears again and again across ancient cultures. In Sumer, kingship descended after a great flood. In Egypt, Zep-Tepi ended before human rule. In India, ages cycle endlessly. In Mesoamerica, worlds rise and fall. Different continents, same memory. Maya religion demanded balance. Bloodletting and sacrifice were not acts of cruelty, but of maintenance, offerings to keep the cosmos in equilibrium. The rulers were not merely kings. They were timekeepers, responsible for aligning human activity with cosmic cycles. And like the pharaohs of Egypt, Maya kings claimed divine ancestry. Royal inscriptions traced lineages back to gods who shaped the world at the beginning of time. The Maya recorded their history obsessively. Dates carved into stone, events tied to astronomical cycles, wars synchronized with planetary alignments. This was not superstition, it was systematized cosmology. Even their ball game, played across the Maya world, symbolized the movement of celestial bodies and the struggle between order and chaos. The Maya collapse is one of history's great mysteries. Between the 8th and 10th centuries, many major cities were abandoned. Causes likely included drought, environmental stress, warfare, and social strain. But as with the Indus, the people did not disappear. Maya descendants still live in the region today. Their language, traditions, and calendar knowledge survived conquest and suppression, and once again, the pattern holds. The civilization fades, the knowledge persists. Perhaps the most striking Maya structure is El Castillo at Chichen Itza. On the equinoxes, a shadow in the shape of a serpent appears to crawl down its staircase, a precise interaction of light, stone, and solar movement. This was not decorative. It was intentional, a message encoded in architecture, a reminder that the universe moves according to laws, and that ancient humans understood those laws far better than we often assume. But how? The Maya were isolated from the Old World. There is no evidence of direct contact with Sumer, Egypt, or the Indus. And yet, they share the same obsessions: cyclical time, divine origin stories, astronomy-based architecture, sacred rulership, memory of earlier ages. If these civilizations were not taught by one another, then perhaps they were taught by the same source. As we leave the jungles of Mesoamerica, we move to another civilization shaped by cosmic order, but expressed through philosophy, harmony, and alignment with the natural flow of the universe. Civilization number 5. Ancient China. In the river valleys of the Yellow River and the Yangtze, another ancient civilization took shape, one that would endure not through monuments alone, but through ideas. Ancient China did not build pyramids to pierce the sky, nor ziggurats to summon the gods. Instead, it sought harmony between heaven and earth, ruler and subject, past and future. Yet beneath this philosophical calm lies the same ancient pattern. Chinese civilization began with divine ancestors. According to early tradition, culture was founded by legendary sage kings such as Fuxi, Shennong, and the Yellow Emperor, beings who were part human, part divine. They taught humanity writing, medicine, agriculture, astronomy, and law. Civilization once again was taught, not invented. The earliest Chinese dynasties, such as the Xia and Shang, governed according to the mandate of heaven, the belief that cosmic order granted rulers the right to rule and withdrew it when balance was broken. This idea echoes Ma'at in Egypt and divine kingship in Sumer. Power was sacred, but conditional. Ancient Chinese cities were aligned according to geomantic principles later known as feng shui, ensuring harmony between landscape, cardinal directions, and cosmic flow. The capital was not merely administrative, it was symbolic, a microcosm of the universe. Chinese writing, like Sumerian and Egyptian systems, appeared early and fully formed. Oracle bone inscriptions reveal a complex language used for divination, communication with ancestors, and state governance. Once again, writing was sacred. Time in ancient China was cyclical. Dynasties rose and fell in repeating patterns governed by cosmic rhythm. History was not random, it was patterned. This concept mirrors Maya time cycles and Indian yugas. Chinese astronomy was advanced and continuous. They recorded eclipses, comets, and planetary movements for millennia. These records remain among the most accurate ancient astronomical observations on Earth. The heavens were not distant, they were active. And then there is the I Ching, the Book of Changes. This ancient text describes reality as a system of interacting forces, yin and yang, governed by change and balance. It is not a religion. It is a model of the universe. Binary logic, cyclic transformation, order emerging from chaos, ideas that would reappear thousands of years later in modern science. Chinese mythology also preserves the memory of a great flood. The legendary figure Yu the Great tamed the waters and restored order, not by brute force, but by understanding natural flow. Again, the flood. Again, the reset. Again, the restoration of civilization after chaos. Chinese civilization endured where others fractured. Its continuity suggests something remarkable, a system flexible enough to survive collapse, yet anchored to ancient principles believed to originate beyond human whim. As with other civilizations, China looked backward for legitimacy, to sages, ancestors, and heavenly order. It did not claim originality. It claimed inheritance. And as we move westward once more, we encounter a civilization that preserved ancient knowledge through fire, ritual, and moral law, standing at the crossroads of East and West. Civilization number 6. Ancient India. In the vast subcontinent of South Asia, where mountains touch the sky and rivers are worshipped as living beings, ancient India developed a civilization unlike any other, not defined by monuments alone, but by an enduring obsession with time, consciousness, and cosmic cycles. If Sumer gave us structure, Egypt gave us eternity, China gave us harmony, and the Maya gave us time, then India gave humanity something even more unsettling: the idea that reality itself is periodic, endlessly created, destroyed, and reborn. Indian civilization did not begin with a single founding city or king. Instead, it emerged through layers: the Indus Valley, the Vedic Age, and later philosophical traditions, each claiming to preserve knowledge from a much older, forgotten past. At the heart of this worldview are the Vedas, among the oldest surviving sacred texts on earth. The Vedas were not believed to be written by humans. They were heard, revealed to sages who tuned their minds to cosmic truth. Knowledge, once again, was not invented. It was remembered. The Vedic sages described a universe governed by RTA, a cosmic order that controlled natural law, moral law, and the movement of celestial bodies. This concept mirrors Ma'at in Egypt, the mandate of heaven in China, and cosmic balance in Maya belief. Different languages, same principle. Indian cosmology speaks openly of vast time scales that dwarf human history. According to these traditions, the universe operates in repeating cycles called yugas, ages that span millions of years. Creation is followed by decline, decline by destruction, destruction by rebirth. This idea appears nowhere else with such mathematical boldness, yet echoes of it appear everywhere. The Maya counted enormous cycles. The Chinese tracked dynastic repetition. The Sumerians remembered a world before the flood. India simply refused to compress time to human scale. Indian texts also describe advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and geometry. The concept of zero place value notation and sophisticated algebra emerged here, ideas that would later transform the world. Astronomical texts calculated planetary periods with striking accuracy. Temples were aligned to solar and lunar events. Sacred geometry governed altar construction and city planning. And yet, the ultimate focus was not external power, but inner knowledge. Indian civilization uniquely emphasized consciousness as a fundamental component of reality. The universe was not just matter and motion, it was awareness. This belief shaped everything: meditation, ritual, philosophy, and social structure. The gods of India were not distant creators alone. They were forces of nature and mind. Creators, preservers, destroyers, reflecting the same cycles seen in the cosmos. Brahma creates, Vishnu preserves, Shiva dissolves. Creation is not a single event. It is a rhythm. Indian flood myths reinforce the global pattern. In the story of Manu, a great flood destroys the world. Manu survives with divine guidance, preserving life and sacred knowledge to rebuild civilization. The parallels to Utnapishtim, Noah, and other flood survivors are impossible to ignore. India did not erase its past civilizations. It absorbed them. The Indus Valley faded, but its symbols and rituals re-emerged in later traditions. Sacred bathing, reverence for animals, ritual purity. Civilization flowed forward without forgetting. And perhaps that is India's greatest contribution to the pattern we are tracing. While other civilizations collapsed and left ruins, India preserved memory through oral transmission, chants, rituals, and stories passed intact across thousands of years. Sound became archive. Memory became monument. This raises a profound possibility. What if the reason ancient civilizations across the world share the same ideas is not because they contacted each other, but because they were all responding to the same forgotten event? A catastrophe, a reset, a lost age. India never denied this possibility. It embraced it. And as we move forward, we encounter civilizations that transformed ancient memory into law, empire, and conquest. Civilizations that did not merely preserve knowledge, but weaponized it. Civilization number 7. Ancient Greece. When ancient knowledge reached the shores of the Aegean Sea, it did not arrive as revelation or divine command. It arrived as a question. Ancient Greece did not claim to invent wisdom from nothing. Greek thinkers repeatedly stated that their knowledge came from older civilizations. From Egypt, from Mesopotamia, from lands farther east whose names were already fading into legend. What Greece did differently was this. It challenged inherited knowledge without discarding it. In doing so, it transformed ancient memory into philosophy, science, and logic, tools that would shape the modern world. Greek mythology begins with gods who are deeply involved in human affairs, not distant creators, but forces that shaped nature, law, and fate. Like earlier civilizations, Greece remembered a time when gods walked among humans. The Titans, the Olympians, and the heroes belonged to successive ages, each ending in catastrophe. The great flood of Deucalion, sent by Zeus to cleanse a corrupt world, mirrors flood myths found everywhere else. Deucalion survives by divine instruction and repopulates the earth. Again, the reset. Greek philosophers such as Pythagoras, Plato, and Solon traveled to Egypt and the Near East to study ancient knowledge. Plato explicitly wrote that Greek civilization was young, that older civilizations had risen and fallen long before Greece learned to write. In his dialogues, Plato speaks of Atlantis, a powerful, advanced civilization destroyed in a single day and night by floods and earthquakes. Whether allegory or memory, the story fits the same global pattern: advanced society, moral decline, sudden destruction. Greek philosophy introduced the idea that the universe operates according to logos, rational order underlying reality. This is not far from Ma'at, RTA, or cosmic balance. Once again, different language. Same concept. Greek mathematics and geometry refined knowledge inherited from older sources. Euclid systematized geometry. Pythagoras explored numerical harmony. Astronomy shifted from myth to measurement. Yet even as reason flourished, Greece never abandoned the idea that wisdom was ancient. The Oracle of Delphi, believed to channel divine knowledge, sat atop geological fault lines, linking earth, prophecy, and cosmic insight. Temples were aligned with celestial events. Cities followed sacred geometry. Architecture reflected proportion and harmony believed to mirror the structure of the cosmos. Greek drama preserved memory and story. Tragedies explored hubris, the danger of forgetting humanity's place within cosmic order. Civilizations fell not because of weakness, but because they violated balance. This warning appears again and again across ancient traditions. Greece eventually fell under Roman rule. Its cities declined, its gods faded, but its transformation of ancient knowledge endured. Through Rome, through the Islamic Golden Age, through the Renaissance, into modern science. Greece acted as a bridge, carrying fragments of ancient wisdom across a civilizational collapse and reshaping them for a new age. And yet, even Greece looked backward. It did not see itself as the origin. It saw itself as the inheritor. As we move forward, we encounter a civilization that took inherited knowledge and turned it into law, empire, and administration, spreading ancient ideas across continents. Civilization number 8. Ancient Rome. Where Greece questioned and refined ancient knowledge, Rome absorbed it and enforced it. Rome did not begin as a civilization of philosophers or mystics. It began as a civilization of builders, lawmakers, and organizers. Yet beneath its military discipline and administrative precision flowed ideas far older than Rome itself. The Romans openly admitted this. They borrowed their gods from Greece, their laws from older customs, their engineering principles from accumulated ancient knowledge. Rome did not claim divine revelation as its origin. Instead, it claimed destiny. According to legend, Rome was founded by Romulus, descendant of Aeneas, a survivor of Troy, itself already ancient in Greek memory. Even Rome's origin story is one of survival after catastrophe. Once again, civilization emerges from ruin. Roman religion preserved the idea that cosmic order governed human affairs. Rituals, auguries, and sacrifices were not superstition. They were mechanisms to ensure alignment with fate. The concept of pax deorum, peace with the gods, echoes Ma'at, RTA, and the mandate of heaven. If harmony was broken, disaster followed. Roman engineering reveals something else: inherited precision. Aqueducts followed exact gradients over vast distances. Roads were built with layered construction methods that still endure. Cities were laid out in grids aligned to cardinal directions. This was not improvisation. It was applied ancient knowledge. Roman timekeeping, calendars, and astronomy continued older traditions. The Julian calendar, influenced by Egyptian solar calculations, structured time for centuries. Even Rome's legal system, one of its greatest legacies, reflects an ancient obsession with order. Law was not arbitrary. It was written, codified, preserved. Once again, writing as power. Rome expanded by conquest, but it ruled by standardization, a principle seen earlier in the Indus Valley and Sumer. Weights, measures, laws, roads, everything followed a system. And yet, Rome struggled with the same problem all civilizations before it faced: balance. As Rome grew, corruption spread, wealth concentrated, civic virtue eroded. Roman writers themselves warned that moral decay would invite collapse. This echoes ancient warnings from every civilization we have encountered. Rome fell not in a single moment, but in stages: political fracture, economic strain, invasion, and internal decay. But the collapse did not erase Rome's knowledge. Instead, it scattered it. Roman ideas survived through the Byzantine Empire, through Islamic scholars, through medieval Europe. Roads became trade routes. Laws became legal foundations. Language became lineage. Rome acted as a distributor of ancient civilization, spreading inherited ideas across continents. And yet, even at the height of its power, Rome sensed that it was standing on borrowed ground. Roman historians repeatedly referenced earlier golden ages. The belief that humanity had fallen from a purer past haunted Roman thought. This idea would resurface in religious form. As Rome declined, a new worldview emerged. One that preserved ancient flood memory, divine law, and moral order within a single narrative. Next, we turn to the civilization shaped not by empire alone, but by revelation and preservation, a civilization that carried ancient memory into the modern world. Civilization number 9. Ancient Hebrews. Among the ancient civilizations of the world, the ancient Hebrews stand apart, not because they lacked the familiar patterns we have seen before, but because they reframed them. Where others spoke of many gods, the Hebrews spoke of one. Where others encoded memory in monuments, the Hebrews encoded it in law, story, and covenant. Where others preserved the past in stone, the Hebrews preserved it in text. Yet beneath this apparent difference lies the same ancient foundation. The Hebrew tradition begins not with kings, not with cities, but with memory. Memory of a world before catastrophe, before corruption, before humanity lost its way. In the Hebrew worldview, civilization is not a human triumph. It is a responsibility. The earliest Hebrew narratives describe a creation ordered by divine speech, chaos shaped into structure, light separated from darkness, land from water. This mirrors creation stories from Sumer, Egypt, and India, but with a striking emphasis on moral order. The universe is not just structured, it is judged. Humanity's earliest failure leads to exile from paradise, a theme echoed in myths of lost golden ages across cultures. But in the Hebrew account, loss is not permanent. Restoration is possible, if humanity remembers. The flood narrative stands at the center of Hebrew memory. The story of Noah describes a world destroyed by water, spared through divine warning, and renewed through covenant. This is not an isolated myth. Its parallels to Sumer's Utnapishtim are unmistakable. The ark, the animals, the birds released to find land, the promise after survival. But the Hebrew version adds something critical. The flood is not random. It is a response to imbalance. Civilization collapses when moral order collapses. This idea reframes the ancient global memory of catastrophe into a lesson rather than a mystery. Hebrew identity is forged not through empire, but through law. The covenant given to Moses establishes a society bound not by blood alone, but by ethical obligation. The Torah becomes the foundation of civilization, not merely religious instruction, but social architecture. Justice, property, rest, human dignity. These laws are presented not as innovations, but as restorations, echoes of a divine order humanity once knew. Once again, civilization is remembered, not invented. The Hebrews believed their law originated outside human authority. This belief mirrors earlier civilizations that attributed knowledge to gods, sages, or divine ancestors. But here the divine voice speaks not through many gods, but through one unified source. This shift is revolutionary, yet structurally familiar. The Hebrews also preserved a strong sense of cyclical time. Sabbaths, festivals, jubilees, all structured life around recurring sacred intervals. Time itself was sanctified. This reflects the same obsession with cycles seen in the Maya calendar, Indian yugas, and Chinese dynastic rhythms, though expressed through ritual rather than astronomy. Hebrew prophets acted as guardians of balance, much like earlier priesthoods. They warned rulers when order was broken. They predicted collapse when justice failed. And like Sumerian, Egyptian, and Roman thinkers before them, they believed civilization could fall, not from weakness, but from forgetting its foundations. The destruction of the first and second temples reinforced this worldview. Loss was not the end. It was correction. Unlike most ancient civilizations, the Hebrews survived without territory, without monuments, without kings. They survived through text and memory. This may be their most extraordinary achievement. While others lost their languages, scripts, and histories, Hebrew tradition preserved lineage, law, and identity across exile, conquest, and dispersion. This endurance suggests something profound. The Hebrews treated civilization itself as fragile, something that could vanish if not actively remembered and practiced. This idea aligns with the warnings embedded in ancient myths everywhere. Civilization is not permanent. It must be maintained. Hebrew wisdom literature reflects an awareness of earlier civilizations. Ecclesiastes speaks of cycles. Psalms speak of floods and chaos. Proverbs reflects ancient Near Eastern wisdom traditions older than Israel itself. Hebrew tradition did not isolate itself from the ancient world. It absorbed, refined, and reoriented it. And through later religions influenced by Hebrew scripture, these ancient memories spread globally. Flood memory, divine law, moral order, a lost beginning, a promised restoration. These ideas now shape billions of lives. The Hebrews stand as a bridge between ancient mythic memory and historical consciousness. They transformed the ancient question, who taught civilization, into another, why must civilization be remembered? As we approach the final civilization in our journey, we move toward a society that did not preserve ancient knowledge quietly or philosophically, but marched it across continents, carving it into stone, cities, and conquest. A civilization that stood at the meeting point of ancient memory and global transformation. Next, we turn to the Inca civilization, a civilization without writing, without iron, yet governed by cosmic order with astonishing precision. Civilization number 10. The Inca civilization, high in the Andes Mountains of South America, above clouds and earthquakes, along ridges where oxygen thins and stone dominates the landscape, the Inca civilization emerged, not slowly, not experimentally, but with breathtaking confidence. They built an empire without iron, without wheeled transport, without a written language as we define it. And yet, they engineered one of the most precise, resilient, and expansive systems of civilization the ancient world ever produced. Like the Maya, the Inca existed in apparent isolation from the Old World. There is no evidence of contact with Sumer, Egypt, India, or China, and yet, unmistakably, they shared the same ancient blueprint. The Inca believed their civilization was not invented by humans. According to their origin myths, the first Inca rulers were sent by the sun god Inti to bring order to a chaotic world. These divine founders emerged from sacred places, caves, lakes, mountains, carrying knowledge of law, agriculture, architecture, and cosmic alignment. Civilization once again was given. The Inca worldview was built on balance. The universe was divided into three realms: Hanan Pacha, the upper world of the gods; Ke Pacha, the world of the living; Uku Pacha, the inner world of ancestors and the dead. This tripartite cosmos mirrors structures seen in Egypt, India, and Mesoamerica. Different geography, same cosmic map. At the heart of the Inca system was order through integration. Every community, every road, every terrace, every ritual was designed to align human life with the rhythms of nature and the sky. The Inca did not worship chaos. They feared it. Their capital city, Cusco, was designed in the shape of a puma, a sacred animal symbolizing power and protection. Streets, temples, and plazas followed symbolic geometry. Cusco was not just a city, it was a diagram of the universe. From Cusco radiated the sex system, invisible sacred lines connecting temples, shrines, mountains, and celestial events. This system linked geography to astronomy, landscape to ritual, earth to sky. Similar systems appear elsewhere: ley lines in Europe, sacred city alignments in Egypt, astronomical city planning in the Maya world. The Inca built without mortar, shaping stone so precisely that earthquakes, common in the Andes, could not destroy them. Walls flexed, blocks locked together. Energy moved through stone instead of shattering it. This was not brute force engineering. It was understanding. Their road system stretched over 40,000 kilometers, across mountains, deserts, and forests, without wheeled vehicles or beasts of burden beyond the llama. Roads were not built for convenience, they were built for connection. Messengers carried information across the empire using quipu, knotted cords that recorded numbers, categories, and possibly narratives. While not a written script in the conventional sense, quipu represented a sophisticated information system. Once again, writing, or its functional equivalent, appears early, abstract, and powerful. The Inca economy operated without money. Instead, it relied on reciprocity and redistribution. Labor was taxed, resources were stored. The state ensured survival during famine and disaster. This system required astonishing administrative precision. Calendars governed agriculture. Astronomy governed ritual. The state governed balance. The Inca tracked solstices and equinoxes with stone pillars, horizon markers, and solar temples. The Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun, functioned as both ritual object and astronomical instrument. The sun was not just worshipped, it was measured. Time, once again, was sacred. Inca myths describe previous ages destroyed by catastrophe, floods, darkness, fire, before the current world emerged. Humanity had failed before. Order, had to be restored. This memory mirrors flood and destruction myths found across every civilization we have examined. And like the others, the Inca believed collapse was always possible if balance was broken. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they encountered a civilization that functioned as a living organism, coordinated, integrated, and deeply symbolic. Within decades, it was shattered. Disease, conquest, and cultural erasure destroyed the Inca state. Temples were dismantled, knowledge keepers were silenced, quipu were burned. And yet, as with every civilization before it, the people survived. Indigenous Andean communities preserved language, ritual, agricultural techniques, and cosmology beneath the surface of imposed systems. Memory endured. And now, standing at the end of this journey, the pattern is undeniable. Across continents, across oceans, across thousands of years, civilizations that should not have shared ideas did. They believed civilization was inherited. They remembered a lost age. They encoded knowledge in stone, story, law, and sky. They warned of collapse through imbalance. They aligned earth with heaven. Sumer, Egypt, Indus Valley, Maya, China, India, Greece, Rome, Hebrews, Inca. 10 civilizations. One pattern. Whether the connection was a forgotten global catastrophe, a shared human awakening, or knowledge passed down from a vanished world, one truth remains. Civilization did not emerge in isolation, it emerged in echoes, and those echoes are still speaking. The question is no longer whether ancient civilizations were connected. The question is, what did they remember that we have forgotten? When we look back at the ancient world, we often imagine isolated beginnings. One civilization rising here, another there, each inventing its own way forward. But when the evidence is placed side by side, this image collapses. What emerges instead is a network of civilizations separated by oceans and centuries, yet bound by the same obsessions: order, time, law, memory, and balance between humanity and the cosmos. Some advanced rapidly and collapsed just as fast. Some endured for millennia without fundamental change. Some mastered technology but failed socially. Others rejected conquest yet vanished quietly. Progress, it turns out, is not a single path. The first undeniable leap belongs to Sumer. Sumer did more than progress. It defined the baseline. Writing, law, urban administration, mathematics, and timekeeping appear here almost fully formed. This is its greatest strength and its greatest mystery. Sumer's weakness was sustainability. Its city-states competed, fractured, and absorbed one another until their language died. Sumer advanced civilization intellectually, but failed to preserve itself politically. It built the foundation, then vanished beneath it. Egypt, by contrast, mastered endurance. Where Sumer innovated quickly, Egypt stabilized. It aligned civilization with cosmic order and froze it in place. Egyptian architecture, theology, and governance barely changed for 3,000 years. This was both Egypt's greatest success and its limitation. Egypt achieved longevity unmatched by any ancient civilization, but at the cost of adaptability. Innovation slowed. Change was feared. When disruption finally came, Egypt could not respond fast enough. Egypt perfected continuity, not transformation. The Indus Valley civilization solved problems no one else had yet imagined. Sanitation, standardized urban planning, water management, these were not luxuries. They were defaults. In terms of daily quality of life, the Indus cities may have surpassed all others. Yet the Indus failed at one thing that defines historical survival: communication across time. Its undeciphered script left no voice, no philosophy, no warning. When environmental pressures came, the civilization dissolved without resistance. The Indus excelled at living well, but failed to defend its memory. The Maya, by contrast, remembered too much. They mastered astronomy, mathematics, and calendrical systems so precise that they still outperform modern estimates in some areas. Their understanding of time was unmatched. But Maya progress came with a cost. Their political fragmentation and ritual demands strained resources. Elite competition intensified warfare. Environmental stress met inflexible systems. The Maya advanced intellectually, but socially they overextended. Their collapse was not ignorance. It was imbalance. Ancient China succeeded where most failed: adaptation. China understood that civilization is cyclical. Dynasties could fall without destroying identity. Writing, bureaucracy, philosophy, and moral governance allowed China to reset repeatedly rather than collapse entirely. China's weakness was not intellectual. It was conservatism. Innovation was often absorbed slowly, filtered through tradition. Yet this restraint is why Chinese civilization endured. China did not expand recklessly. It survived intelligently. Ancient India advanced further than any other civilization in abstract thought. Its understanding of time, consciousness, mathematics, and cosmology dwarfed its contemporaries. Indian civilization dared to think beyond human-scale history. But India struggled with political unity. While intellectually dominant, it lacked centralized continuity. Knowledge survived through philosophy and religion rather than state power. India progressed inward, not outward, and in doing so, preserved ideas but surrendered influence. Ancient Greece transformed inheritance into method. Greek civilization did not invent most of what it used. Instead, it questioned, refined, and systematized ancient knowledge into philosophy, science, and logic. Its weakness was fragmentation. City-state rivalry prevented long-term unity. Greece burned brightly but briefly. Its legacy is unmatched. But it could not sustain itself. Rome mastered what Greece could not: scale. Rome advanced law, engineering, logistics, and administration beyond any ancient civilization. Roads, aqueducts, legal systems. Rome built civilization as infrastructure. But Rome's failure was moral and economic imbalance. Expansion outpaced cohesion. Inequality hollowed the system. Rome fell not from ignorance but from internal decay. Rome spread civilization, but could not govern its own excess. The ancient Hebrews advanced civilization in an entirely different dimension: ethics. They introduced the idea that civilization is accountable to moral law, not power. This idea outlived every empire. But this strength came with vulnerability. Without empire, monuments, or military dominance, Hebrew civilization survived only through memory and text, fragile yet astonishingly durable. The Hebrews progressed not technologically but conceptually, redefining civilization itself. Finally, the Inca achieved integration without writing, currency, or iron. They solved logistics, agriculture, and governance across impossible terrain. Their system prioritized survival over wealth. Yet this efficiency relied on central authority. When leadership collapsed, the system could not recover. The Inca mastered coordination, but not resilience against external shock. So who was the most advanced? It depends on the metric. Each solved a different piece of the same problem. How do humans live together, over time, without collapsing under their own weight? What connects them is not perfection, but memory. Each civilization believed it inherited knowledge from the past. Each remembered catastrophe. Each warned that imbalance leads to collapse. And all of them were right. The final truth is not that ancient civilizations were more advanced than we are. It is that they understood something we often ignore. Civilization is not guaranteed. It must be maintained, balanced, remembered. And when it forgets where it came from, it falls.